we'll look at the factors affecting the rate of photosynthesis. I'll divide here these factors into two categories: internal factors and external factors. The internal factors have to deal with the structural suitability of the leaf in order to allow photosynthesis to take place efficiently. What does the leaf has in terms of structure that makes that photosynthesis can be efficient? So those will be the internal factors. The external factors will be looking at the effect of carbon dioxide, amount of carbon dioxide, amount of light, and temperature. Those will be the external factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Now, when we talk about the rate of photosynthesis, what does it mean? Rate means the speed or how fast or how slow something is taking place. So we're asking ourselves, how fast or how slow will the process of photosynthesis take place? That's the rate of photosynthesis. There are some things that could make photosynthesis go on very fast, and it also means that if these things are not present, then photosynthesis will experience a very slow rate. So that's what we want to look at. Now, when we look at leaves, I already spoke about part of this in my introductory section when I was looking at photosynthesis. When we look at leaves, leaves have a broad surface. Most leaves are broad. It means they have a large surface area to trap or to allow a lot of light to fall over them. And leaf has large amount of stomata. Remember, stomata are those openings on the leaves through which gases and even water vapor can pass. So stomata will allow more carbon dioxide to enter the leaf because they are like pores that are found on our skin also. Then we'll look at the internal part of the leaves so that we can see how it is suited for photosynthesis. Okay. Now, when we look at the leaf internally, this is an internal structure of this is the structure of the leaf internally. We're looking at it. First of all, on the surface, the leaf is made up of cuticle, which is usually waxy. It's made up of waxy cuticle, but the good thing about this cuticle is that this is a cuticle here. The good thing about the cuticle is that it is transparent. I'm sure we know what transparent means. It means we can see through. It is transparent. If it's transparent, then it's able to allow light to pass through. Did we say that light is necessary for photosynthesis? Yes. If that light is not able to pass through because the cuticle maybe is opaque, the opposite of transparent, then we won't have light going into the chloroplast, and light will never be trapped to use the aspect of energy of light. So photosynthesis will never take place. Secondly, the fact that the cuticle is waxy is almost oily. We know that oil cannot mix with water, so water cannot pass through oil. So meaning, since the cuticle is waxy, it serves as a waterproof. Water which is already inside the plant, for example, cannot go out because the wax is trapping the water. It cannot exit the leaf. It means the waxy cuticle helps to keep most of the water inside, such that it is always used and reused for photosynthesis, because water is part of that chemical equation. Carbon dioxide, water, energy gives glucose and oxygen. Now, we also look at the epidermis. The epidermis is like the skin. After the cuticle, we have the main skin itself of the leaf. The epidermis also is transparent for the same reasons that the cuticle, to allow light to pass through. It also has just a single layer. It's not thick. It is thin for easy transmission of light to the mesophyll. Now, we have two types of mesophyll here. We have this layer called the mesophyll, this whole environment here. This part is made up of tissue. Remember, the leaf itself is an organ. So organs are made up of tissues in turn made up of cells. So we're living from the level of organization of the organ, that's the leaf, to the tissue level of organization, we find the mesophyll, which are made up of this is also a tissue made up of two types of cells. We will have the spongy mesophyll and the palisade mesophyll. We'll discuss each of them individually so that we see their structural suitability in terms of conduct or making sure that photosynthesis occurs efficiently. So I was saying the epidermis has just a single layer so that light can easily be transferred from the epidermis. It's not thick. Light can easily go through the epidermis and into the mesophyll, where we find these cells that have chloroplast. Okay, so I will start with the spongy mesophyll. The spongy mesophyll, a part of tissue, is made up of cells that are irregular. It means that they don't have a precise shape. They're shaped in any way. Now, this irregularity makes these cells not to fit nicely into each other. If they fit nicely into each other, check here, there is no space in between. But because they're irregular, they don't fit nicely into each other, they will always create some kind of space in between. They always create some kind of space in between. And these spaces are air spaces. We can see here, there will always be some space here. There will always be some space here, some air spaces. Inside here, we'll find air spaces. There will always be some air spaces inside here. We'll see exactly why. It's air spaces that are formed by the spongy mesophyll cells not fitting nicely into each other. So these air spaces are for what? They are necessary for gaseous exchange. And which gases are we exchanging? We're exchanging oxygen for carbon dioxide, or vice versa. Okay, so if these air spaces are not there, there will not be that proper gaseous exchange, because gases will not even find a way to infiltrate right through the tissues or in between the cells of the plant. Now, inside, while these mesophyll, the spongy mesophyll cells, allow air spaces to form between them, themselves, they are good enough because inside of themselves they have chloroplast. Remember, we want chloroplast everywhere. And then we have chloroplast present inside these spongy mesophyll cells. The chloroplast contain what? They contain chlorophyll to trap light for photosynthesis and all other aspects that we've seen. Again, the spongy mesophyll cells have thin walls. The walls are not thin. The walls are thin. Sorry, the walls are not thick. The walls are thin so that carbon dioxide and water can easily go in. At this point, we care mostly about what goes in, which are carbon dioxide and water. We don't care too much about oxygen, though oxygen also will find its way easily out because of the thin walls. If these walls of the spongy mesophills were thick, then carbon dioxide and water would not easily go in. So because they are thin, then there's ease for carbon dioxide and water to go in. Now, that was with the spongy mesophyll. With the palisade mesophyll, if you look at these cells here, these are the cells of the palisade mesophyll. Their shape is much more regular than that of the spongy mesophyll. Okay. With the palisade mesophyll, the cells are elongate. They're kind of long. You see them like long cups or test tubes. Think of test tubes. The cells are kind of elongate so that they are placed at an angle to light. If they were elongate and placed maybe horizontally, then light cannot easily go very well deep into them. But they are placed vertically facing light, so that since they contain a lot of chloroplasts, they allow for deep penetration of light. Light can penetrate very deep. They are placed just like test tubes that are placed standing up vertically. They allow for deep penetration of light. And the palisade mesophyll cells have a high number of chloroplasts. So they contain a high number, abundant number of chloroplasts, so that they can trap maximum amount of light. The more light or the more chloroplasts, the more light trapped, the more light, the more energy available to drive photosynthesis. And also, just like with the spongy mesophyll cells, the walls of the palisade mesophills are also thin, so that carbon dioxide can enter easily. Okay, the walls of the palisade mesophyll cells are also thin, so that carbon dioxide can enter easily inside these walls. Now, again, present in the leaf, the first leaf I showed at the introductory part of photosynthesis, we saw the middle vein that was passing in the leaf here. This is a cross section of the leaf. It's like they've taken a leaf, they cut it like that, and they're showing it to you this way. It means the mid vein is passing there. That is the mid vein that we have here. The mid vein, we have xylem and phloem passing there. Okay. So the fact that the leaf has xylem, it means water is able to pass there. So this blue region here is where water will be passing. Did we say we need water for photosynthesis? Yes, this is where it passes. So it means the leaf has a structure which brings in water. Again, when water passes through, it passes through with mineral salts, because plants also need minerals to grow. That's why we provide them. If the soil is leached of minerals, we provide the plants with fertilizers, which bring in nitrogen and phosphorus, basically minerals. And again, in that mid vein, we have the phloem. The phloem, which then going to transport all the products of photosynthesis. And what are these products we're talking about? We're talking about starch made from glucose. So this is where the starch is going to pass through. These two act like tubes through which water will pass, like it passing in a pipe, through which food will pass, respectively, xylem and phloem, passing as if they are going through a pipe to go to where they are required. The water will go to the chloroplast, most of it, so that it can combine with, can be broken to produce the high energy rich hydrogen atom, okay, and release oxygen as a byproduct. Now, when that glucose is formed, it will then flow inside the phloem, so that it goes to other plant parts to make these parts grow in height, in size, and in mass. Then we have the stoma. Stoma is singular for stomata. I'm sure we are more familiar with the word stomata, but the singular one is stoma. We have stoma. The stoma are more on the ventral surface. That's when you have a leaf, the under part of the leaf is the ventral surface. Sorry. Yes, it's on the ventral surface, so that it can easily have gases going inside of it, because the other side is the dorsal surface, so that you can easily have gases going inside of it. Hence, since gases go upwards, they can easily float and enter inside the stoma or the stomata. Around the stoma, surrounding just at the boundary of the stoma, we have special cells that we are going to call guard cells, these are the guard cells. They are there at the entrance of each stoma. These guard cells are the ones that control. They are like security. They are the gates there, that opening of the stoma. They are the ones that can open and close, to open the stoma and close the stoma, hence controlling the amount of water, the amount of carbon dioxide and oxygen that pass through the stoma. Now, nonetheless, we are not going to waste these guard cells. No, we're not going to waste them. What do I mean by that? They are also cells. They can as well participate. Apart from being like securities, opening and closing the stoma, they can participate in that whole process of photosynthesis. How? Because they also have inside of them chloroplasts, which can also trap light for photosynthesis. Okay, so that is the structural stability of the leaf for photosynthesis. These are the internal factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. So now we'll look at the external factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Now, the external factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis are carbon dioxide concentration. It means the amount of carbon dioxide present, the intensity, how bright is the light, and temperature, is it high temperatures or low temperatures? So we'll see how each of them play a role in either speeding up or slowing down the rate of photosynthesis. Now, we'll start with carbon dioxide concentration. If you see here, we have a graph that shows on the y-axis we have the rate at the speed at which photosynthesis occurs. On the x-axis we have carbon dioxide or amount of carbon dioxide concentration. Okay, we notice that if you have to put units here, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, we notice that when carbon dioxide concentration is low, the rate of photosynthesis is also low. As we increase from 1 to 2, the rate of photosynthesis also increases from 1 to 2. As we increase further, it also increases further. It means that when we increase further, the rate of photosynthesis also increases. It means that when carbon dioxide concentration is low, photosynthesis is slow. When we increase, as the amount of carbon dioxide increases, the rate of photosynthesis also increases. It goes a bit faster. As we increase even more, it goes again even faster. But at one point, you will see that although we are increasing carbon dioxide, the rate of photosynthesis levels off. It means it remains more or less constant. It doesn't increase anymore. Why is that so? It is so because carbon dioxide, nonetheless, yes, it is necessary for photosynthesis, but too much of a thing is also not good. Because carbon dioxide at one point, if it's too much, then it starts becoming poisonous for the cells of the plant. Secondly, the rate of photosynthesis will remain constant if carbon dioxide is enough, but other factors become limiting factors. It means maybe carbon dioxide concentration is high, but light intensity is low, and temperature is also low. So that's what it means. That's the rate of photosynthesis as affected by carbon dioxide. These activities you can be doing. Now, the rate of photosynthesis as affected by light. Now we have light intensity on the x-axis. How does light affect? Same way like with carbon dioxide. If light levels are low, If we have low light intensity, then photosynthesis will also be low. As light intensity increases, photosynthesis also, the rate also increases until we reach a point where the level of photosynthesis the rate of photosynthesis remains constant. It means it levels off. Now, this is also because in this case here, other factors may be limiting. Maybe at this point now we also have then low levels of carbon dioxide and low temperature. Okay, so those could be the limiting factors. That's the rate of photosynthesis as affected by light intensity. Now, the last factor, that external factor that affects the rate of photosynthesis is temperature. When we say temperature, it doesn't just necessarily mean high, no. It could mean low temperatures as well. But as far as temperature is concerned, we will be talking about an optimum temperature. The optimum temperature is the temperature at which this process of photosynthesis occurs at its best. For mesophytic plants, that's the plants that we mostly have around us here, our terrestrial plants that don't need too much water for them to grow. Otherwise, we have the xerophytes, the xerophytic plants, which grow in extremely dry conditions around the desert. And we have the hydrophytic plants, the hydrophytes, which are water plants basically. Okay, so the mesophytic plants grow at moderate amounts of water and also at moderate temperatures. So for mesophytic plants, that are the ones that we are interested in right now, the optimum temperature for photosynthesis, the temperature at which their photosynthesis will occur best, will be at 25 degrees Celsius. Now, the graph in this case here looks a bit different. The reason is because temperature, the way it affects the rate of photosynthesis, it rather affects the functioning of enzymes. It means more specifically we'll be looking at the dark phase. The reason is because it's in the dark phase that we came across enzymes found inside the stroma. So from your grade 10 work, you will remember enzymes are proteins in nature and hence are affected by temperature. At low temperatures, enzymes are deactivated. And at extremely high temperatures, enzymes are denatured. It means they'll stop functioning all completely. But enzymes will function at the temperature where they feel best for themselves. That will be the optimum temperature. It then means that as far as the rate of photosynthesis and temperature are concerned, when temperatures are low, the rate of photosynthesis is slow. As temperatures increase, the rate increases. As it increases, the rate increases, and the rate of photosynthesis will be highest at that temperature, which is the optimum. For mesophytic plants, again, that temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. After the optimum, when temperatures get too high, these enzymes start getting denatured. They get burnt up. They start losing their structure, their conformation, and their function. They get denatured, and that's why we see the rate of photosynthesis curbing downwards. Means it's dropping until at one point when the enzymes are totally denatured, the rate of photosynthesis just stops altogether. Photosynthesis doesn't take place. It means that starch will no longer be formed. So these are the factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Now, the biological importance of photosynthesis. Why is photosynthesis important for us? Two major reasons why photosynthesis is important. The first is that photosynthesis is the process by which plants make food automatically. That's why we call them autotrophs. They are at the bottom of the food chain. We call them the producers. It means that whatever food they make in form of starch, that food is eaten by other organisms, And it means that plants are the ones that provide food to all other organisms, from the primary consumer to the nth consumer, secondary, tertiary consumer. All of them derive their food from plants. If there were no plants, then no organisms which depend on eating other organisms would be alive. Okay. So in that way, by providing food, they also provide energy to all other organisms at different trophic levels. Why are they able to do that? Because it is only plants and other microorganisms that photosynthesize or chemosynthesize that are able to trap energy in a raw form and convert it to packages of energy that we see in terms of food. In this way, all living organisms are able to benefit from the energy that is found in sun. Okay, that's the first reason why photosynthesis is important. The second reason why photosynthesis is important is because photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is released by every organism, and these organisms that undergo cellular respiration, including plants, release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. If the carbon dioxide accumulates, it becomes toxic and will lead to global warming, and then you can extend it to the natural disasters, the catastrophes that come as a result of global warming. So it means we won't want carbon dioxide to accumulate in the atmosphere. Hence, the good side again about photosynthesis is that since plants need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, plants are seen as sinks. They extract, they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It means the more plants, the more photosynthesis, the more carbon dioxide is extracted from the atmosphere so that it doesn't accumulate to poisonous levels. Now, the plants then use this carbon dioxide to make food, and in the process, they release oxygen as a byproduct. And this oxygen then is used by other organisms for respiration. It means plants kind of balance oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere by the process of photosynthesis. So those are the biological importance of photosynthesis: provision of food and balancing of carbon dioxide and oxygen, most importantly extracting carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Greenhouses. Now, what is a greenhouse? It is a special building in which plants are made to grow where they could maybe not naturally be able to grow. It means with greenhouses with controlled conditions. These are houses that have controlled environmental conditions inside of them. It means they can be established anywhere. With a greenhouse, I can put a greenhouse even in the desert. I can put it in the North or South Pole and make my plants grow if those plants were to grow only at moderate temperatures of maybe 25 degrees Celsius. My plants can grow in freezing areas like the North Pole because I have controlled environments inside the greenhouse. And I can also make plants grow out of season. It means that I can make plants to grow in a greenhouse at a season when they are not normally supposed to be growing. So that's what a greenhouse basically is. It is made up of glass so that it can always allow light to pass through. You can see all the walls are made up of glass. You can see it all there. The walls are all made up of glass all around. Glass or layers of polyethylene or polyethylene, which is a special kind of plastic. Okay. So what advantage is there with greenhouses? We can make plants in greenhouses grow under controlled conditions. That's the major advantage there. Now that we know the factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis, it means we can control photosynthesis. We can make sure that it's always occurring at an optimum rate. In a greenhouse, just like you control partially the environment in your own house, if it's cold, then you switch on the heater, something like that. So in a greenhouse, if the season turns to be a cold one, like in winter, we can use heaters in the greenhouse to warm up the environment so that the temperature goes again to 25 degrees Celsius. I'm speaking here with respect to mesophytes. In the greenhouse, I can either increase or decrease the light intensity. I can increase light intensity. Light intensity is controlled during the day by the fact that the walls are made up of glass which are transparent, allowing long sunlight to enter. If I see it's not enough, even at night, I can make artificial light so that the plants can continue with their light phase. Even at night, I can do that so that their productivity can even be enhanced. Again, I can increase the concentration of carbon dioxide inside the greenhouse because it has its own specific atmosphere, which is artificially made. It means in that atmosphere of the greenhouse, I can increase the amount of carbon dioxide inside that greenhouse. Okay, so I can increase carbon dioxide intensity, I can increase light intensity, I can increase temperature, I can play around with temperature, I can even play around with water because I can water my plants. There are some industries that have greenhouses as their projects. So industrial greenhouses are available to produce certain foods year-round. No matter the season, no matter the environment, I can establish a greenhouse anywhere, anytime. That's the major advantage of greenhouses. Okay. So, in commercial greenhouses, we have the employment of special trained staff so that they can always ensure that the correct amount of water, correct fertilizers, good airflow, and heat are available to plants at all times. Okay, that's how greenhouses are. You can control the environment. Okay, these are the ways that you can control. If it's too bright, you can use close to shade to reduce the amount of light, and you can control so many things inside a greenhouse. Okay, those are the terminologies that we came across. This brings us to the end of the chapter on photosynthesis. I hope you enjoyed it. Please play the videos as many times as you can so that you can rehearse and understand them and make it part of you. Thank you very much for attending.